I've had the John Deere Lawn Sweeper now for about 2 years. If you've been watching any of my videos, you would know that this is probably my favorite piece of tow behind equipment. This thing is a lifesaver when it comes to raking. It'll pick up grass, small pine cones, probably big pine cones. I don't have that variety here, so I can't say for certain, but I don't see why I wouldn't pick them up. Leaves, anything you can imagine, really. Like, it'll pick up sticks. This thing is awesome. Pine needles. It picks up a variety of different things that could be laying on your lawn, and it can really save a lot of time. But what I want to do is, since it's been 2 years now, I want to go through it and just kind of go over everything, see how it looks, see what the gearing looks like. I'm gonna, kind of clean and lubricate that a little bit. But I just want to do a good look through everything and see the condition of this now after 2 years. Because I know when people buy stuff like this, one thing they look for is like, how well does it hold up? So here's my attempt to show how it holds up after 2 years. I'm gonna first do just a little superficial walk around here, show everything. You can see there's no damage or anything to the hitch. It's holding up well. Haven't had to really tighten these or anything. It looks like that one may have come a little loose. That would be probably the only issue as far as the hitch goes. Then again, that may have been loose this whole time. This one I gotten from the dealer, it was already assembled. There's a lock nut on that, so that may just not have been fully tightened, I don't know. But everything works good there with the hitch. No issues with the hitch system on this. I have noticed people have been asking questions. Well, haven't been a lot, but I did see questions about these and how this works with having to have spacers. This is the 42-inch model. The 44-inch model is the one where you would have spacers here to adjust the height of this, dependent on your tractor and how high the hitch of the tractor is off the ground. So this one I haven't adjusted since I got it and used it with the D105 that I had. I didn't adjust it for the 580, and I just used it yesterday with the 758. And still haven't adjusted it. I probably need to get some better performance out of it, but this one's easy to adjust. You don't got to mess with those spacers and all kinds of stuff every time you hitch it up and unhook it. So I definitely think this is the better design. So if you don't need those extra 2 inches, I would say go for the 42-inch sweeper. Moving on. One thing I don't know that I like so much is the method of raising and lowering this. It just seems kind of goofy. I think it's just in the fact that, like, this lift mechanism with like the spring and everything, there's a lot of like excess play in it. Like, you can see how much this moves, and it just, I don't know, it's kind of tough to raise and lower, like to the all the way up position. Like, if it's full at all, you can't lift and lower it very well. Like, you're gonna have a hard time getting it lifted all the way up if it's full. But nothing is damaged there. It works just as it did since new, so no complaints really. Wheels, of course, they're airless design. They're just solid rubber, so no issues with that. I haven't had any issues with flats or anything, of course. This netting in the front, so I kind of thought it was a bit goofy at first, so I was using it rolled up, and then I came to find out very quickly that it definitely helps keep a lot of stuff from blowing back out of it, especially if there's a little bit of wind going on and you're trying to pick up leaves or something. So that's pretty nice. There's Velcro straps down here in the front that hold it down. I haven't had an issue with them yet, coming undone, unsewn, anything like that. One on each side, so that's going well. And that goes up along the sides, of course. And then there's one, of course, over here. You can roll that up, and then there's Velcro on the back that you can secure that up. So all is well there. The little string that you use here to dump it, so that is one thing that I had to change. when you get this, it has like a black string that's a little bit thinner than that one, I think. It does not stay tied on there very well. I just have a simple knot on there that stays fairly well. I haven't had an issue with this one coming off as of yet, but the black one would come off all the time, and eventually I ended up just replacing it. With this one, it's a little bit heavier. I tried getting some heat shrink under there to kind of hold it together, but it slipped out. But it hasn't come off again, so I'm not really worried about it. I think I also lengthened it a little bit. There is some Velcro that goes on the bottom of the handle, and then there's a Velcro piece that has adhesive on it that you can stick to the tractor and attach that by Velcro to the tractor, so it's right there. That way you don't got to get off. That Velcro for me ended up not really working out so well. It would get dirty, dusty, and then it wouldn't want to grab. So I either leave it just to kind of attach like this to where it goes around the lift mechanism there and then back up to the side, and I just have it tied around, and then usually I have this just kind of sitting in here. That way it doesn't go anywhere. It won't get sucked up by the sweeper. But then other times, like for example on the 758, I would bring it up here, wrap it around the inside of the armrest, and then sit it like in the cup holder or something. That way it is on the tractor if I wanted it on the tractor. So, you know, I replaced the string, but you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. Moving on, we're going to talk about the hopper, because that is a big thing that everybody talks about, these things being either poor quality or just bad. So one thing you hear about is the bottom getting ripped up on these. Look at the bottom of mine. Does it look very ripped up? It looks pretty clean to me. This material, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's not just like a cloth or like a thin vinyl. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it is like a thicker vinyl. I don't know. But it's pretty sturdy. I mean, you can see there's like scratches in it. But I mean, as long as you're not taking this like fully loaded with like dirt across rocks or something like that would ever happen, I think you're gonna be fine. I don't think you're gonna really get rips. The only place I see some rips maybe is over here at this seam. It's coming apart a little bit. Yeah, I really, sorry, I'm kind of looking at what I'm doing, not so much the camera. It's ripping a little bit there at the edge. I'm not worried about that. I feel like that's gonna be kind of normal wear. I think it doesn't matter which brand you have, that kind of thing's gonna happen. But this is a button. It looks like you could probably replace this pretty easy if you wanted. I think I showed before, there's a bolt and nut right there that is poking through it. So that's probably gonna happen to any of them. And same on this side. But other than that, there's like no damage at all to the hopper on this. This, you're looking right now at like the leading edge. That's where everything would hit first, and then your back edge is gonna be up here. And it looks pretty good, no damage. So I don't think durability of the hopper is something you need to worry about. Down here with the blades, or not blades, I should say, brushes, they still all spin well. Nothing's wrong there, which tells me my gears at least are good enough to still rotate those. So not too bad, as long as you keep these things unclogged of, you know, grass wrap around it and whatever else you may run over that might wrap around it. As long as you keep them clean and not binding, you'll be all right. I think the problem is when people get something in there, get it bound in there, and then keep driving and don't realize it, and then eventually the wheel gets enough weight on it that it, you know, hits something and breaks something. So looks like there might be a little bit of wear right there on the inside. I don't know what, that must rub on something, but this side might have some rubbing, but not through yet. But overall overall, at the superficial level, this thing looks pretty good. It's in pretty good shape. And I use this every time I mow, essentially. Picking up grass. I pick up thatch. Both years I picked up thatch with it. Leaves. It's, as I said, very handy. Very worth it in my opinion. So now let's move on. We'll take a wheel off and check out the gearing. To remove this wheel, first gonna take off one of my favorite kinds of clips. There's a washer. And then it looks like it's probably a plastic bearing or something that's part of the wheel, but we'll pull that off. Easy enough. And then from here, this is just like a plastic cover. It doesn't have any kind of seal or anything on it, which unfortunately means you can get crap in there. But there's little plastic tabs that you can kind of pull off, and that will help you get this outer cover off. Again, it's not sealed in by anything, and you can see how open this is to just the gear. So nothing in there is really protected that well. So this is something that you want to keep an eye on, I would say, and make sure that you keep it clean, because if something does get jammed up in there, there's a good chance you may break one of these teeth. So, well, my first impression is this looks pretty clean in here, which is nice. Well, I should say pretty unbroken, not necessarily clean. Obviously there's dust everywhere, but even the metal gear doesn't look rusted or anything. I keep this inside. That's one of the reasons I feel like it also still looks pretty good as far as like the hopper. I feel like if this was kept outside, the sun would have done a bit more damage on anything or on everything, and you know, the hopper and that would have been in a lot worse shape. But being inside, it keeps stuff from corroding and everything like that. So the majority of my equipment still looks pretty good. So, you know, if this is going to be left outside, you know, I can't say how it's going to stand up to 2 years of being outside. But let me bring in a little closer and show you what this looks like. So you can see here the metal gear portion. That's what actually drives the sweepers. And then this is the plastic gear, of course. I'm just gonna try to clean this off real quick with just my thumb. That way I don't know if this is like keyed a certain way, but I'll hopefully be able to get that on there again in the same spot. But looking at this, the teeth all look like they're in pretty good shape. I don't have any that are broken, so that's a good thing. Which is pretty cool. I think one thing a lot of people complain about these is that, oh, it has a big plastic gear in there that's gonna break. But I can now attest that after 2 years, mine hasn't broken yet. Knock on wood. Watch, it'll break this year. But it hasn't broken yet, so I'm gonna get this cleaned up. I'm pretty much just gonna wipe it off and then just re-lubricate it. There's not really much you can do. Again, it's not really worth it, just based off the fact that you know, it's so exposed to the elements. Like you're never going to be able to get this thing clean and keep it clean, really. So best you can do is just make sure you kind of keep it lubricated, just so that you don't have teeth breaking off. So I'm going to clean this up and we'll be back. Forgot one thing. There is also a snap ring right here that we can take off and just see if there's anything in here that could need cleaning. Probably not. There's probably a bearing or something in there. Of course, it's gonna be a pain in the butt. All right, had some snap ring plier issues there. I don't know why that was such a pain to get off. So there's our metal gear. And there's a pin in here. Another washer. And then another spring clip. Let's see how that one goes. So that looks like probably some sort of unserviceable bearing. I don't think you're going to be able to do too much with that unless you take the rest of this apart, which I'm not going to bother doing that at this point. I'm not having any issues with it, so I'm not going to bother trying to dismantle it that far. It just seems a little bit excessive for what I'm trying to do right now. Just wanted to see what it looked like in here, but nothing looks crazy out of the ordinary. So we'll get those couple parts back together. Get that pin back in. Nothing crazy. You could probably put a little bit of grease or something on that, which we'll probably do, but as I said, I'm gonna get these parts cleaned up and then we'll be back. Okay, so I think I got that a little bit backwards when I initially put that inner ring back on and then the pin. That big washer is supposed to go behind it. But essentially, at this point, I have everything. Let's zoom out just a little. I got this cleaned up. I took a plastic scraper, got in between all the teeth, dug all the gunk out, and then just wiped this down. Again, this isn't like anything precision, so it doesn't need to be like, you know, perfectly clean. But then this gear, I did the same thing. I dug all the gunk out of the teeth, wiped it down. Looks pretty good. So now to reassemble that, I'm just gonna put a little bit of, I'm gonna put some grease on this. This piece doesn't actually move. It has a keyway on the back, which I'll show you. A little more than that. Just a little grease on there. This is more so just to protect it. So this is the actual, the John Deere lithium multi-purpose grease. But there's a keyway on the back of this. You can see here, and it has an R there for right. This can only go on this side, and that's just so it locks into that pin. But I'm just gonna kind of spread this around on this shaft a little bit, just to, as a corrosion preventative, more or less. As I said, it's not actually really spinning on there. And then we'll slide our gear back on, and you can see you can slide it one way, but when you go the other way, it'll stop. So that's that. I'll put washer back on in there. And then hopefully the snap ring will go back on easier than it came off. Make sure Where that's seated. It looks right. You'd think with a good quality set of snap ring pliers, you wouldn't have a problem removing snap rings. But apparently that's not the case. Alright, there we are. Alright, cool. So from there, I now realized that this also isn't keyed, that literally these pieces just connect the wheel. I guess if you really wanted, you could wipe down the inside of this. Obviously, it's not really the biggest deal in the world. There's a little dirt in there, but as I said before, this isn't a precision gear set or anything. So we'll slide this back on, and then we'll lubricate these gears. So I think the last video I had with this, I showed getting this thing out and lubricating it. I'll show it again. So again, I use, this is the DuPont Teflon lubricant. So anything that's a PTFE type lubricant would be fine, but looking it up, this is what I found was a good lubricant to use with a ABS type plastic. So this is an ABS gear. It's not just I don't know, whatever standard cheap junky plastic. Like it's a little bit stronger. It's a reinforced plastic, but this is what I found works best. So if you can find something like this, use a PTFE lubricant as opposed to WD-40 or something of that nature. So then I just put some on all through the gears. And then since the wheel's off, it's super easy to spin it around. You can even move that gear along the metal gear a little bit, that way it kind of coats that metal gear evenly. There's some excess running off. But now your gear's nice and lubricated. So just do that periodically, and I think that does a number to protect your big plastic gear there. So then we'll throw our wheel back on, and you just gotta align the that plastic gear. Oh wait, we should probably throw on our cover. All right, you may have to hold that axle from the inside. That way it doesn't just push in. Get your spring clip back on, and you're good to go. And that is just a quick disassembly and cleaning of the wheel and gear assembly. I just took off this side, opened that one up, cleaned it out and everything. It looked just the same. The gear had no broken teeth or anything like that. Cleaned everything up, lubricated it the same way. So yeah, that's it. You can see these are pretty simple. Not a lot to maintaining them really. There's really only a few issues. I mean, well, essentially one issue realistically, if you're worried about small rips in the edges of the hopper, but the nature of what this thing is, I feel like you would have a really hard time avoiding that. I don't know, maybe you could come up with some sort of, I don't know, sheet metal shielding or something you could add to it somehow. I don't know what you'd have to do, but the fact that it looks like it can be replaced fairly easily, I think it would be worth it to just buy, you know, a new, you know, back piece for the hopper or whatever they'd call that. I'm sure they sell them. This is made by Brinly, so I would imagine you may have to contact Brinly for that, unless John Deere sells it as a part, but I don't know if you're going to be able to pull this up on their website or anything to find a part number or anything like that. So it might take some calling around. Who knows, maybe the dealers can get them easily. I don't know. I'm not worried about it right now. It doesn't have any big holes to where I'm losing material out of it, so I'm not super worried. Trying to think if there's anything else I could talk about as far as like stuff people have asked. People have asked if you can use this while you're mowing. I'm gonna say no. I feel like that should be fairly obvious. You know, you're discharging off to the side, so if you're towing this right behind you, it's not gonna pick anything up. However, if you get the 44-inch model, I believe that you can slide the hitch to either side on that, so you can offset it a little bit, in which case you would be able to use it as you're mowing. You could, you know, move it to where it's all the way on the left side of the sweeper, and then it will hang off to that side when you're pulling it. I don't have it. I can't say for sure. I haven't seen it done, but judging by the looks of it, that's, you know, how it would work. So I don't see why you couldn't do that. For me, it just gives me more time to ride around the yard. So, you know, I'll take pulling it around afterward just fine. I think that is about it. Again, I can't stress enough how much I love this thing, how much of a time saver and life saver it is. So yeah, hopefully that does it. Hopefully, if you're looking to see the longevity of this thing, hopefully this answers some questions you may have had, or maybe this helps solidify your purchase if you see that, hey, you know, it lasts for more than a couple uses. I feel like people that put the negative comments out there probably were doing something wrong and, you know, neglected it, or, you know, what have you. I don't know. I don't see any issues with it as of yet. So I think we'll be good. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or anything like that, please let me know. But other than that, have a good one.